Hey guys, does capitalism have you down?
Does the constant pressure to be productive get to you?
Are you tired of being a cog in the machine?
Then we invite you to be a part of the revolution against toxic productivity by embracing the useless things.
Welcome to episode 73 of the Very Unimportant People podcast.
Do less.
I'm your host, Courtney, and I went on my first solo hike recently.
Ooh. Wow. And I'm your host, Lidia, and this week I risked my life to hang lights in a theater.
Ooh. Tell us about it.
Yeah. Okay, so basically, like, this theater that I've been working at to do, like, a bunch of lighting hangs at, its grid where the lights hang is set up in this very awkward and not convenient way where there's like a bunch of catwalks that you can walk on to get up there, which is super convenient, and then you could hang lights on the bars that are like on the catwalks, and you could just hang it and it's fine, you know, whatever, it's cool. But there's also bars underneath the catwalks, and in order to get to those lights you have to take out the floor and then put it beside you and then hang through the floor and hang a light onto the pipe underneath the floor. And that's how you do it. And you have to literally just your arms and like maybe your head is sticking through the entire floor, just like this 2 foot by 4 foot gap. And you're just like trying to focus the light. And like the designer was being so mean. He was just like he was really rushing us. And we were like defying fucking gravity trying to hang these lights for him.
Rushing you as you were hanging your bodies through the floor above the ground.
Yeah. And he was just like, can you do this? Can you do this? And we were just like, yeah, we can do it. But like, it's just going to take an extra 5 seconds for these lights that are hung in this really inconvenient way. And like he just didn't really seem to understand that. And he went like, there's like a gel slot at the front of the light, and when you focus the light, like it's like an extra 3 feet that you need to reach your body out to get to the top of the light where the gel frame goes. So he's like asking for the gel, and I'm like trying to precariously put the gel into this gel frame, trying not to drop it like the 24 feet down onto the ground, onto his head or something like that. And he was just rushing us and just being such a freaking dweeb about everything. And it was just me and this one other guy in the grid, and we're just like literally doing gymnastics. It felt like trapeze artistry in the fucking air.
Cirque du Soleil who?
Yeah, Cirque du Soleil me. And it was so intense, and I was up there and I was like, I don't think I want to risk my life for lighting design anymore.
No.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm gonna remember this next time I'm doing lighting design. I'm gonna remember not to punish the crew like this. Like, we don't deserve this. We don't need to be underneath the fucking catwalk hanging a light. We could just hang it like that 1 foot over. And I was telling the guy who I was doing the job with, I was like, when I'm a lighting designer, I'm going to remember this. And he was like, you say that now, but when you do your lighting design, you're going to be like, fuck it. That crew can handle it.
Let's go. Pick it up.
Yeah. Pick up the pace. We got a lot of lights to focus here. So yeah, it was intense. And I was using a lot of my knowledge from school, which I have also like forgotten almost a little bit. So it was kind of like, you know, getting back into theater, but like just doing the most. And like, yeah, and they were trying to help me from the ground, and they were just like, oh, like just twist this knob. And I was like, I know what I'm doing, it's just at a really awkward angle. Like, it's just taking a while. Oh man, it was fucking annoying. Yeah,
sounds rough. So, don't risk your life for a job.
No, I
don't. Be a lighting designer, not.
Yeah, definitely headed in that direction. This has taught me, you know, I'm learning a lot. Like, it's fun, and it like makes for a cool story sometimes, but like it's so stressful. Like, I just don't want to fall through the floor and then like just be hanging there, like, because you're harnessed in, but like the harness it's not good to be hanging like 24 feet like that.
I feel
just
like it's
strapped onto one thing.
You're just like.
Yeah, and then you're just dangling there, and like we don't have a lift or anything like that, otherwise we would be using it. So if I did get stranded, I don't know how they would rescue me. Like, I think they would have to get like 3 people and pull me up like through the grid.
Yeah, that's not an ideal situation to be in at work.
No, yeah, man, it was wild. So yeah, that was kind of my like my 2 days of work. It was nice though. You know, we had like long calls and like we were chilling in the theater and we were like teaching some of the younger kids some new things. I feel like a veteran.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was fine. But that other part, I was like, I don't think I can fucking do this anymore. It's just not worth it. For this one scene, it's just not worth it. I'm sorry.
I concur.
Hate
Not
to say
worth
it.
Yeah, not worth it.
Yep. So how was your solo hike?
Oh, it was all right. It was just all right. It was like I feel like, okay, so you know when people, this is gonna sound like it's very off topic, but you know when people give birth, there's like hormones that pump through their brain that make them forget how bad giving birth was. I don't know if you've heard about this, but that's what happens so that they like have more children. Like it's a biological thing that you kind of like forget all the pain and stuff that happened. I have a similar experience with hiking that like it sucks, but then once I'm like over the sucky part and I get to the top, I completely forget how much the hike actually sucked.
Yeah.
And that happened to me when I decided to go on my solo hike because I wanted to go somewhere that was like there were people around, not just me in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
That felt a little risky for me. So I went to a hike close to us that I've only done once before. And the last time I did it, I literally died. But I somehow forgot about that. And I was like, let's do that again. This sounds fun. It's a nice quick hike. But I instantly regretted it. Like 2 seconds into it, there's this, at the bottom, you can decide to take these like stairs that they randomly installed. They're not like hiking stairs. They're like these concrete, really steep stairs that were like dug into the side of a mountain. It's a really weird situation. Or there's like a path up. And I was at the fork of the road with this like older couple. And they chose the ramp up. So I went up the stairs because I was like, I don't want to be hiking with them. So I went up the stairs and like literally 5 stairs up, I was like, this was a bad idea.
Oh, no.
And yeah, I've never taken so many breaks on a hike. Every single time I saw even like someone slightly in the distance, I would stop, pull over to the side and just wait for them. You know how you have to let people pass you?
Yeah.
I would take that initiative on myself. I'd be like, all right, this is an opportunity
I'm just gonna do
for
this
a
for
break.
you. Yeah.
And literally like every 2 seconds I would just stop and like pretend that I was looking at the lookout and like the views. And, but I was really just absolutely dying.
On the inside, you're just like huffing and puffing and like
Yeah.
just holy shit.
And it was really sad because that older couple that I started with, I never saw again. I think they gave up. We like met up again. They like part and then they meet up again in time to go up like the first big hill. And I saw them at the bottom of the hill and we waved at each other because we had a little chat at the beginning about which way to take. And they laughed when I took the stairs and they took the other way.
They knew something you didn't.
And yeah, I never saw them again.
Oh my god.
And I ran into like 7 other people that I just never saw again. And I went up and down the same way and I never saw these people again. So I think a lot of people took the smart route and were like, this hike is a little bit much for me. I'm going to turn around. But I was like, no, I can do
Or
this.
maybe they beat you because you took so many breaks.
No, I would have seen them pass me. I would have seen them pass me. There are a lot of people that did pass me.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people that passed me. But no, a bunch of people I never saw again. Whoa. But it was still kind of fun. Solo hiking's kind of fun. You got a lot of time to think. You can go at your own pace.
Yeah,
that's
nice
true. When you're dying.
It's just kind of scary though, like that you're just like by yourself and you just have to kind of like be alone and taking breaks and like people walking by you and you're just like alone and it sounds a little scary, honestly.
Yeah, and like the top of this hike is. So it's like, obviously it's up like kind of like a mountain. And the top of the hike is essentially like rock climbing, I would say. There's a lot of these hikes in BC, but this is like the worst one. Like it's literally like just shale like cliffs that you have to like hands and knees like climb your way up. And the last time I did it, it was a lot scarier because it had just rained. So all of them were like wet and slippery. But this time it hadn't rained. So that was okay. But yeah, that part's a little scary when you're like... I could literally like fall off the side of this cliff and like, no one would know.
And no one would know and no one would find you and they would have no idea. Yeah, that's terrifying.
And then there's like a path that goes down the back of the mountain that's a little bit less scary. That like last time I did the hike, we went up the shale cliffside and then down the nice little path. But the nice little path makes the hike like at least 2 hours longer than it needs to be.
Oh,
And so by the
okay.
time I got to the top, I was so tired. I was like, I don't want to be out here for another 2 hours that I don't
Yeah.
need to be. And then also like the backside of the mountain is like through the woods, and it's not
Mm.
really busy back there. It's only busy on like the
Oh,
mountainside. So I was
yeah.
like, maybe I'll just go down the same way I came up. You know, that
Yeah.
seems the safest option.
Yeah.
But going down is so much scarier than going up.
Oh,
Because if
God.
you go up and you
This just
fall,
keeps getting worse.
if you go up and you fall, gravity is like working against you, right? Like if you fall, you're gonna fall forward, but gravity's
Yeah.
pulling you down, so it's like
That's
not as
true.
scary. But on the
Yeah.
way down, gravity and your fall are going in the same direction. So it's like if you trip and fall, you're just gonna keep going. There's nothing
Holy
stopping you and like
fuck.
pulling you back. So it was a lot scarier on the way down. But
Damn.
I feel like my bouldering, I've been bouldering a lot.
Yeah.
Janae and I have really gotten into that, so I feel like that helped me. I
Oh,
had a lot
yeah,
more confidence
definitely.
just like scaling the fucking cliffs. And
Yeah,
it
you
was
just
fun.
have to commit, man. That's
was
the
scary,
secret
but it
of
was fun.
bouldering. And also, yeah, that's terrifying. Damn, good for you. Good for you. Doing things alone on its own
Right?
is scary,
Right?
but also
Right?
just like having a life-defying experience just all by yourself in the woods.
It's kind
Oh
of
my
fun. It's
God.
kind of fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I also went bouldering by myself the day before
Mhm.
that, and doing stuff alone is actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's not
I
bad.
like it.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Independent
Enjoy
woman.
it. Yeah. Anyways, this is actually a really good transition into my opinion for this week, because my opinion for this week is about Mount Everest.
I love Mount Everest! Yes, 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 yes. Oh my God.
And like,
yay! This is so exciting.
fair warning to everyone in the audience. I don't know if it's going to affect everyone the same way that it affected me, but this is like the first time I've ever done a podcast opinion that's like almost like deeply disturbed me. Like I've had like an icky feeling. I wrote this opinion like 2 days ago. I've had like an icky feeling since I wrote this opinion. I can't
Oh my
stop
God.
thinking about it. I keep
so
like
scared.
freaking watching videos and researching it because it's so intense to me. I don't know if it's just a me thing, but just fair warning. I kind of found it disturbing.
Okay.
But the opinion is basically like maybe we don't need to climb Mount Everest. I feel
Maybe
like
we should stop climbing Mount Everest.
yes. I feel like there's some things that humans aren't meant to do. This is a common theme on the podcast. There's a few things that humans aren't meant to do, and it's okay if we don't do them.
Yeah, we don't
okay.
need to conquer the highest mountains.
We don't need to do it. Yeah. Our bodies are physically not supposed to be up there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's listen to that. That's the opinion. But, all right. Let's get into it. So, there have been about a total of 5,739 people who have climbed Mount Everest. And over 200, closer to 300, they don't actually know the number of people have died while climbing Mount Everest. And most of the bodies are still there.
Yeah.
So-
yeah, I know. I heard of that. I heard of
Yeah.
what's his name? What do they call him? Like red boots or like
Green
orange
boots.
boots? Green boots.
Yeah, I'll talk
Yeah.
about green boots.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So this actually works out to a rate of about 1 in 20 people die while climbing the mountain. And it used to be a lot more. It used to be for the first like 50 years that people were climbing Mount Everest, I think. It used to be about like 1 in 4 people that would
Yeah,
die
I
while climbing the
believe it.
mountain. And so most people know Mount Everest as the tallest mountain in the world, but it actually has another title, and a lot of people refer to it as the largest open air graveyard in the world.
Oh, I did
And
not
yeah.
know that.
Basically, when people die climbing Everest, because it's like so high and so cold, like recovering their bodies is actually like super, super dangerous and really, really expensive. It can cost about $40,000 to $80,000 to recover a body from Mount Everest. So their bodies are just kind of left there as a reminder of like what can happen. And a lot of people actually like use their bodies as landmarks now.
Yeah.
They'll be like,
Yeah.
oh, just over
They're
the
like,
edge of the dead
turn-
girl, you turn.
Turn right
Yeah.
at green boots. Because
Yeah,
if you go left,
exactly.
you will have the same fate.
And then there is like kind of a common practice for some of the bodies, which is like you push it over the edge if someone dies, just so it's like out of sight, out of mind. Which is also kind of morbid. They just whoop.
Yeah, a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah. And so the mountain was first scaled in 1953 by Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norway.
Yes.
That was the Sherpa that climbed it. And so the top portion of the mountain, which is everything above 26,000 feet is known as the dead zone. So this is everything kind of above Camp 4, sorry, which is the last camp before you start climbing. And so basically up here, the oxygen levels are about a third of what they are at sea level. And the barometric, I'm probably saying that wrong, pressure makes everything seem 10 times heavier. So like picking up a candy wrapper is difficult. Like, so recovering a whole ass body, like
way.
a dead frozen weight is pretty much impossible. This combination can kind of make climbers feel sluggish, disoriented, fatigue, and causes distress on the organs. In recent years, long lines have also contributed to higher death rates because people literally have to like stop and wait, and they have to bring like O2 tanks because there's like no oxygen up there, and they run out of oxygen while they're waiting, or they freeze while they're waiting.
Oh my god. See, that's the second issue, is that it's so commercialized now.
I know.
That there's just too many people climbing Everest.
Sucks.
Like, you can literally climb Everest. I think I saw a tweet about this, that you can just climb Everest if you have $40,000 or $60,000.
It's like $100,000 to climb.
Okay, $100,000. But that's all you need, and you don't need any training. You just need to hire a Sherpa, and you just need to go from camp to camp to camp, and you can get to the top of Everest.
Bad idea, though. Bad idea. You can also
want to do it because they think they can. They're just like, oh, let me just conquer everything.
But you can't. Just letting everyone know, you might not be able to do that. There's also this thing called pulmonary edema that people suffer from, which is when you actually start to drown inside your body. So fluids start to like rush into your lungs and you suffocate and you die.
What?
That some people experience that at high altitudes, and most people can actually only survive for 48 hours in this area. If you spend longer than 48 hours,
you're probably not going to survive. Wow, that's so crazy. So you just have to climb that much mountain while feeling sluggish and while having a third of the oxygen, but you only also have 48 hours to survive it.
I mean, it only takes, I think it only takes about 8 to 9 hours to actually get to the summit. So 48 hours is reasonable to get in and out. But if there's storms and stuff like that, you can get stuck there.
Yeah, that's so true.
And also,
I mean, it's so unpredictable.
And you kind of get like stuck behind the slowest climber with this whole lines thing. So, you know, things can happen. There's been stories too of people like their hands get so frozen, they have oxygen, but they can't turn it on. So they die because they can't turn on their oxygen.
Oh,
so
that's also terrifying.
Around 32% of people who climb Mount Everest experience hallucinations while they're climbing due to hypoxia.
I've heard of that. Yeah. Like while you're climbing it, your body just like starts to like hallucinate, and like you can't like see your hands straight and shit like that.
You can also get snow blindness, which is when you basically go blind because of all like the UV light if you don't bring eye protection. That can also lead to death pretty quickly.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Snowblind.
Jesus Christ.
People who do happen to survive longer than 48 hours in this area do have lasting health effects.
Right.
Yeah, they often get like frostbitten and like organ damage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And an even more morbid thing is that as people die while they're climbing the mountain, no one does anything. If somebody dies in front of you, you keep climbing. You just climb over the person and keep going. So a climber in 2018 says that she saw 7 bodies on her way up and recalls hundreds of people climbing over the body of a recently deceased person just to get to the top. Remember, this is like a vacation that people are doing. Like, this is just like a fucking like tourist thing, and people are climbing over dead bodies. Another man in 2013 said that he had to walk past 4 newly dead bodies on his descent. It's just, it icks me.
Fucked up.
Really icks me.
Yeah, that's really messed up, man.
And
like,
so
you could easily be next too.
I know,
like,
and that's the thing. Like, even the
probability.
most like skilled climbers, people who have been training their lives for this, those people die too. It's not just the people who are like in it just for funsies and haven't done any training. It can happen to anyone.
And you can't stop, right? Like, it's just not even in the cards to stop. Like, you know that it's every man for themselves, and like there's no going back for people because you're risking your life.
Yeah, and most of the stories of people who do die on Everest are actually like people who stop and like take a break, and that's when they die. So you like really don't want to stop.
Wow.
So there's this famous corpse that Lidia mentioned. It's called they call the corpse green boots now because he has bright green boots, and you do have to pass this body to get to the summit. There's some debate over who Green Boots is, but most people believe him to be Teswang Paljor, who is an Indian climber who died on the mountain in 1996. And there is a movie called Everest, and it talks about what happened in 1996. It's one of the deadliest events ever to happen on the mountain.
Oh my God.
8 people died in 1996. It's called the
That's
Everest
like the
disaster.
entire climbing crew.
And more people suffered frostbite and lost fingers. And so basically what had happened is there was like a holdup on the mountain caused by fixed lines not being in place. So there's this, I forget what it's called. It's like Hillary's Cross or something like that. It's this place that you have to kind of basically climb across a cliff face. Like on one side of you is an ice wall. On the other side of you is a drop. And you're just on this like tiny little rock path almost. And so the Sherpas have gone up and attached ropes so you can clip yourself into the rope so you don't fall off the edge. And when they got up there, the ropes had been broken. They were supposed to be repaired, but they were not.
Oh.
So they had to wait for the ropes to be reinstalled. So this caused a little bit of a holdup.
Yeah.
And they knew that a blizzard was coming into the area. So they knew that they had to be off the mountain by a certain time. In the movie, it's 2 o'clock. I don't know what it was in real life. It might be 2 o'clock. So they knew they had to be down from the mountain at that time not to be caught in the blizzard. And basically this holdup caused most people to get stuck on the mountain when this blizzard hit. So the blizzard hit multiple groups and it reduced visibility to 0. There's a guide called Robert Hall who had made his way up to the summit with his group, but there had been one guy in his group named Doug Hansen, and it was Doug's second year trying to climb Everest. He had failed the first year, and he had been really tired on the way up, so he had stopped and taken a break. They thought he had went back down, and when they were coming back down, they encountered Doug. And Doug was like so close to the summit. He was like, please, 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 just let me do this. Like, I paid $100,000 to be here. This is my second year doing this. Like, this is my only shot to do this. And so Rob really didn't want to, but he finally agreed. He was like, okay, fine, let's just do it quickly. So Rob had made it to the summit, went back down, got Doug, went back up to the summit.
Wow.
And then on their way back down, they didn't make it down in time, and they got caught in the blizzard. They both died.
What?
Their bodies are still on the mountain today.
Oh.
And yeah, so this blizzard also killed Green Boots, who his body isn't actually still there, but it was there for a very long time.
Oh.
And so they recently removed him. Just out of like respect for the family, I guess. They didn't actually take him down from the mountain. They just moved him away. People don't really know who moved him, but apparently there's like a Chinese Mountaineer Association or something like that, because the mountain's on like a border with China. So apparently that association has been moving a lot of the bodies just to make it a little bit of a happier place for everyone.
Yeah.
So they recently removed him, but he used to be used as a benchmark to know that you were close to the summit. And so in 2006, a guy named David Sharp was climbing the mountain, and he took a break to chill with Green Boots before he started his summit. And when he took a break, he started to, I guess, freeze pretty much. And he actually ended up dying right next to Green Boots.
Oh.
And this is a very controversial death because about 40 people passed David Sharp as he was dying.
Oh.
And nobody stopped to help him. And he was like clearly like hunched over in distress. Sharp was also climbing by himself. He didn't have a group, a radio, or a Sherpa. He was just trying to do it. He had like a minimalist approach to it. He was, I think, like an experienced mountaineer person. Yeah. But he still died. So basically 40 people stopped. 40 people passed him on the way up. Nobody stopped. And then by the time they came down, he was pretty much dead. Wasn't totally dead. He was kind of like mumbling to himself almost. Oh. And that's really... But he couldn't stand up. They couldn't get him really to answer anything. And so they ended up just leaving him there. Yeah. They were like, okay.
Hypothermia will take this man.
Yeah. And then his death kind of sparked a great debate in the climbing culture of Everest. Because of the fact that so many people passed this man and didn't help him. Yeah. And even one of the first men to summit Everest, Sir Edmund Hillary, he spoke out about it, saying that the climbers that passed him basically had a moral duty to stop and help him. And that those people who made it to the summit don't impress him at all. He's like, that's not an accomplishment when you literally like sacrificed a life to do that.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like criticized what climbing Everest has turned into.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Good for him. Good for him, seriously, for being like, this person's life was on the line. And I'm sure like if you start dying on Everest, you probably still have time to like get down. Like if a couple of people could help carry you down Everest, like that probably.
And they have like medical teams at base camp and like ready to go. Like there are ways to help people once they like get into distress. But if you just leave them there, they're in the death zone, which they also call Rainbow Valley. Because when you climb Everest, you wear these like really brightly colored suits.
Yeah.
And so when you die, you stay there in the brightly colored suit. So as you look through like the death zone, you just see all these like rainbow things, and it's all the dead people. So they call it Rainbow Valley.
Fucking horrifying. What a shitty ass name for that. That's really fucked up. People who like summit Everest and who enjoy summiting Everest have extremely dark senses of humor. Like why would you fucking call it that? Like that's not it's not cute.
Just I know, like those are people.
Yeah.
That's
just call
you,
it the death zone.
Essentially.
Seriously, it could be any single one of them. That's so fucked up.
Yeah. And in 1999, the oldest body ever found was found on Everest 75 years after their death. So this was believed to be the remains of George Mallory, who was the first person who ever like really attempted to climb Everest. And it's not known if he actually made it to the top or not. So Mallory could actually be the first person who ever summited Everest, but of course he died, so no one knows if he died on his way up or down. He was found with a rope tied around his waist, which led to the belief that he was there with another climber who had fallen off the side. Once again, nobody knows if he ever achieved his goal. When once asked, like, why are you trying to climb Everest? He said, because it's there. And that's become like a really popular quote amongst people who want to climb Everest. People are like, oh, because it's there. We got to do it. But yeah, didn't go well for him. Might not go well for you.
Yeah, because it's there. Like, okay. I guess that's the reason for a lot of people's like curiosities, because it's there. Like, why do we go into the ocean? Why are we trying to figure out how much of the ocean is unexplored? Like, why do we want to go deeper and deeper in the ocean? Like, because it's there. Because we're curious.
Yeah. I also feel like the amount of money that it costs to climb Everest is a contributing factor to this, because I think a lot of people end up pushing themselves a lot further than they should, because they're like, oh, I paid $100,000 for this, I have to make it to the top, like I'm just a little tired, I can keep going. And then they end up dying, and it's kind of sad that they died because they paid money for it. Like that's fucked up.
I wonder if it's romanticized among some people though, like if you die on Everest, it's just like it's a cool way to die.
Yeah, some climbers like tell their families before they go that if they die, they want their body to be left on the mountain. They're like, don't recover me. Like, that's where I want to die. That's where I want to be left.
Oh,
right? Fucking creepy.
That's so weird. So you go there with kind of the intention that if you do die, then like it's still prideful and it's still something to be happy about. You either reach the top or you die, and either way, you've accomplished something.
I guess so. The first woman to ever die in the death zone, her name was Hannelore Schmatz. She was German. I believe, so she was the first person to, I'm pretty sure this was her. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. But she was the first person to ever try summiting Mount Everest without supplemental O2. She was very, very experienced mountaineer. She like had climbed her whole life, and she actually did succeed in her goal. So she went with her husband, and I believe she went with her husband. And they made it to the top, and everything was fine. And then they were on their way back down, and they had gotten separated.
Oh no!
They were with another guy, and so Hannelore decided to set up a tent because a blizzard had hit in the death zone. The Sherpa told her not to. She said, that's a bad idea. You're in the death zone. You shouldn't set up your tent here. But she was too fatigued really to care. So she and Ray set up their tent. Ray did not make it through the night, but she actually did. And she started her climb back down in the morning, and she ended up dying about 300 feet from base camp. So she almost made it back, and then she died. And then 2 people went back up to try to retrieve her body, and they also died while trying to retrieve her body.
Shit. Only 300 meters. I guess it's a lot when you're like looking at the mountain, though.
I know, but still so close to just like kick it.
Sad.
And then her body remained there for a long time, like leaning against her backpack. She was like stuck in this weird position, and her hair would like blow in the wind and stuff like that. And then I believe, so some people, as she was dying, some people had like passed her and noticed that she was like on her way out and had tried to help her, like try to talk her into like standing up and walking back down, but they ended up having to make the decision that they had to leave her there and save themselves because they weren't able to get her up. Tried. And but this like trauma that these people encountered, like leaving a person there to die by themselves, haunted them for so long that they actually went back many years later and ended up pushing the body off of the edge as like a sign of respect, because it was literally just in the middle of nowhere and everyone would pass it. So as like a form of closure and a way to say goodbye and like sorry and whatever, they climbed the mountain again and pushed her off the side.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Damn.
So
the only people on Everest who had morals.
literally, right? They actually tried to help.
Yeah.
What a wild concept. But a lot of people now actually believe that climbing Everest is a bit of a joke, because it's no longer like the physical feat that it used to be. Not that it's not like impressive. It's very impressive to be able to do it, and it's very dangerous. But as Lydia was saying, you can just literally pay a tour group to take you up. You don't have to train. You don't have to be experienced. Like, just if you have enough money, they'll take you up Everest. So it's like a little bit more of a joke now. More people are dying because they're taking more inexperienced people up.
Yeah.
There's one guy, Billy Bailing. He's a journalist, and he has this really funny quote. He said, "Somebody once said that climbing Everest is a challenge, but the bigger challenge would be to climb it today and tell nobody." He's kind of talking about how it's just like a bragging thing now. People just like to say like, "Oh, I climbed Everest," and it's not really for the experience of climbing Everest. It's just so you can be like, "Oh my god, I did this amazing thing. I had $100,000 sitting around."
Yeah. Mountaineering isn't like your calling. Like you haven't been born and raised on a mountain. And,
literally,
like,
no.
You've never climbed any other mountain except for Everest. Like, and it's not something that, yeah. Just because it's there.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone's just kind of doing it for the bragging rights now. There's a lot of theft on the mountain now. There's a lot of piles of just like trash and like human feces and stuff like that just on the mountain. It's basically been trashed. The oxygen tanks.
Fucked up.
Yeah. The oxygen tanks that they're using have recently been found to be faulty. And a lot of them were actually leaking or exploding because they're being filled improperly on the black market. So that's also why a lot of people are dying, because it's just a money grab now. Yeah. And I believe it was 2019, could be 2015. One of the recent years, basically the Nepalese government oversold the number of permits that they usually do. I think they sold about 390 permits, and they usually sell a lot less just to get the money out of people. And that one ended up being like the deadliest year.
Oh, there
Everest.
You fucking go.
Recent Everest history, because they were like, no, there was no like blizzard or disaster or anything like that. It was just the deadliest year from people dropping dead from not having enough oxygen or being exhausted because of the long lines. So it's just a money grab now.
That's so fucked up, man. That's so fucked up. Everest used to be this huge feat, and like only specific people would do it. People who dedicated their lives to like learning how to climb Everest, and to just being like so curious about what was at the top of the mountain and if the human body was capable of doing it. But I imagine that a lot of people who used to summit Everest are probably very confused as to why everybody wants to summit Everest, you know? Like, they're
literally,
like, why,
they're like,
as a non-mountaineering person, are you interested in
as
summiting
a normal
Everest?
human?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of psychologists that have actually started to do research on people that climb Mount Everest, because there's like this common association of people who climb Mount Everest are thrill seekers.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, that
but
makes sense.
This is actually not true, because climbing Everest is actually really boring and tiresome, because it takes about 4 weeks to do it. Like, it's not something that you just like, oh, you do it in a day. Like, it takes a couple weeks to get to base camp, and then you have to spend a couple more weeks. You climb up to certain camps, hang out there for a bit, and then climb back down because you have to start to acclimatize your body to the altitude.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like a really long and boring thing to do. So it's not really the thrill seekers that do it. Psychologists believe that it's like people that are trying to gain control over their life. Like, it's a way to get control. I don't know how that's a way to get control, to like put yourself in death's way like that, but
yeah, to show that they aren't like slaves to their bodies and they could do things that normal people can't do.
Yeah, it's not
psychology.
It's not the thrill seekers. It's either people trying to get control over their life, or it's people who want the bragging rights of I climbed Everest.
That $100.
I am an idiot. $100,000
could go towards therapy instead of
it could go towards a lot of things.
Instead of feeling like you need to control your life by climbing Everest, bro.
And it's crazy.
Everest.
Okay, so about 40,000 people go to base camp every year, and only about 300 actually summit it. And it only costs like $5,000 to $6,000 to get to base camp, because it's just like paying the tour guides and stuff like that, basically. But then it costs $100,000 to get from base camp to the summit, which just like blows my mind. That it's just like the last little bit. $100,000.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy. That's really expensive. That seems unreasonably expensive. Like, that doesn't seem real. Like, what are you paying for? You're paying for your person, who I guess is working 24 hours. Like,
oxygen,
while you're climbing up there. Oxygen is cheap.
Yeah.
Like, the oxygen tank, you can rent an oxygen tank for like $60.
I honestly don't know what you're paying for.
That's so
It baffled me too. Yeah.
Maybe if the prices were lower, less people would go, you know, because then they would just be like, not only is it a cheap thing to do, but you're also risking your life, and you're only paying like $1,000 to do it, you know?
Embarrassing.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like human psychology, that's
right?
Honestly 100%
because,
true.
like,
if it didn't cost $100,000, you wouldn't be showing off your wealth. You wouldn't be.
Yeah, it's like I made it to the top of Everest, and I have enough money to make it to the top of Everest.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be that like rare thing anymore, you know? It would be like, oh, anyone can do that, like whatever. So you climb.
But
Everest.
why would you want to? Anyone can do it, but why would you want to?
That's
like,
dumb.
I'm smart.
Why would you risk your life for $6,000? Like,
yeah. Oh,
that's a good
cool.
point.
So and then it would truly be impressive, because it's like, exactly. Anyone can do it, and you clearly needed to like train for it and stuff like that. Because if you're paying that much money, like $10,000, it does make it seem like you don't need to train, because everything you need, like your survival is almost guaranteed, you know? But if it's only $1,000, then it feels a lot riskier for some reason. Climbing Everest. That's an interesting psychological experiment. We should try that one year. And still only have 300 permits or whatever it is. But or maybe the permit is a whole other thing too.
Yeah, the permit makes sense to me. So basically you can only climb Mount Everest in May. That's the only month that it's like the weather is decent enough, warm enough to do it. And you basically like spend a lot of time at base camp waiting for like the golden day to climb. Like, they check the weather and stuff like that, and they'll make plans based on the weather, but you have to like wait for a specific window. That makes sense based on the permits, because basically the issue with that like really deadly year was that all of the groups, so they had oversold the permits, and then all of those people who had those permits tried to climb on the same day. That's also what happened in the 1996 thing too. Okay. Was that everyone, all of the groups that were there, made the goal for May 10th. That was the day that they were going to climb. And it was too many people. Like, there was too much waiting. There was too much holdup. There weren't enough oxygen tanks for everyone. It was like a whole big disaster.
That's so fucked up.
It kind of makes sense. Back. Yeah. The limit. Me too. Like, it's not worth it.
Like, I don't think it's worth it to die on Everest. I don't really understand that psychological need to just like die in this cool, like, thrill-seeking way.
I don't after like learning all this too, I don't even think I have zero desire to climb Everest.
Oh, me too.
I think it'd be really cool to go to base camp to see it. I'd like to see Everest, but why do I need to do that? Why do I need to go to the top?
Why do you need permanent health implications
Literally.
just to go to the top of some mountain. And also you're going to be suffering the entire way up there.
I know,
you're
like
bored,
it's not fun.
you're tired,
it's like 8
you're
hours
cold.
of suffering.
Yeah.
And then you get to the top. Like I've seen videos of people getting to the top, and it's like this tiny little, like tiny summit. Not many people can fit on it. And most people are like lying down like this on the ground because the wind's like fucking blowing. And it's a shale drop on the other side. So you're probably terrified the whole time you're at the summit too.
Yeah, you're not even really enjoying it.
Yeah.
That's so
and there's been stories of people who've done it recently, and because there's so many people there, apparently like it's almost like everyone almost doesn't fit on the summit.
Oh.
Like it's really dangerous to be up there because it's like so crowded that people will literally just like take a picture and then get off of it as quickly as they can. So it's like, what's the point? You don't you don't enjoy it once you get there. You don't enjoy it on the way up. You don't enjoy it on the way down. Like what's
no, the way down is probably even worse. Like that's the real challenge.
That's when most of the people die.
Down.
Is on the way down. They make it up, but then like down is most of the challenge apparently. So 8 hours in, you haven't even scratched the challenge yet.
Seriously, what
doesn't make sense to me.
Scientists, you could go up there and do your little research, but it just doesn't make sense as to why people are doing it. Yeah. And it's not like Antarctic too, right? Because in the Antarctica, in that place,
in the Antarctica,
they're studying like if there's like life in these extreme conditions, and like if like things can survive, and like if humans can survive, and they're like using it as a test ground for Mars, which like is kind of cool, I guess. But like for Everest, we don't need to do that. We've studied everything there is to know about the mountains and shit, and like people have been doing it for like 60-70 years now. Just stop. I'm with you. I don't want to climb Everest.
Yeah, and
I'll just read the stories about people climbing Everest. It's not cool anymore.
I'll watch the video of that one guy that, like vlogged his way up.
Yeah, exactly.
See the top. Mike Posner did it actually.
Going to Everest, yo, no way.
Yeah. He walked across America and then he climbed Mount Everest. And made a music video about it.
Yeah, I mean that's a regular series of events. That makes sense. Yeah.
He's got money and time. That makes sense to me.
Money, time, and he has like a little bit of like a spiritual kind of side to him.
Some mental health really stuff,
Which
addiction.
Makes sense for
We get it, Mike Posner. Good for you. But
go do Everest. You need something else to like take your time up. I get it.
Everyone else, I don't get it. The other thing is like it's the air's so thin that they can't like fly helicopters up there or anything like that. So they can't even like medically evacuate people.
Okay.
If you make it back to like certain camps, they can get helicopters there. I think they can get to like Camp 1, the last camp. But if you're in the dead zone, they literally can't even fly a helicopter up there to help you.
What?
Because the air's so thin. Like the helicopter literally like just will drop out of the air. It's crazy.
How high is Mount Everest?
So high. So high. Very, very high. Higher than any person needs to be. Higher than any living being ever needs to be. Yeah. Pretty crazy shit.
That's so insane. Oh my god. I had no idea that it was that bad. That like helicopters just like, never mind. I can't survive this. I'm not made for this. Wow, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
And it's already been discovered.
Yeah. We've already done
There's no need to keep discovering
it's not that impressive
We've
anymore.
discovered it. Yeah. It's like when in I don't remember what the show was, but they were just like, oh, this person was going into geography or like mapping or something like that, and someone was like, why hasn't everything been discovered? Like what
do you need to keep discovering?
Yeah.
It's fine, guys.
We've discovered all the land. We don't need to keep discovering things. It's been discovered.
And then I just kind of wanted to take a moment also to touch on the topic of Sherpas. This is something that's always bugged me a lot, is Sherpas. Not that the Sherpas bug me, the culture around Sherpas bug me, because I always feel like it's like these rich tourists that, they make it to the top and they're taking pictures of themselves and they're like, oh my gosh, look at this feat. I've done this amazing thing. And like beside them is the Sherpa who carried all their shit for them, who set up their camp for them, who dragged them to the top and carried all their O2. And it's just like another Monday for him. He's like, this is the job. And all these like wealthy tourists are like, oh my God, this accomplishment. Like
all by myself.
It's always just irked me a little bit. And what makes it even worse is that the majority of the dead bodies on Mount Everest are actually the bodies of Sherpas.
What?
Yeah. But these are the ones that generally aren't talked about. Like, we hear all about green boots. We hear all about these, like, hikers, the people, the tourists, the people who pay to be there. We hear about them dying on the way, but we don't actually hear about the people that die helping them get there, basically. So the Sherpas, for people who don't know, are basically like climbing guides. They're hired to help people get up. They carry the oxygen bottles, water, food. They set up camps. They navigate, and they manage the porters. Sherpa, the word Sherpa means people of the East, and it's kind of like an ethnic group of people who live in the mountains.
Yeah.
And it's believed that because they live their lives in the mountains and they're born in the mountains, that they're like genetically predisposed to fare better at higher altitudes, which is true. They do really well at high altitudes. They earn about $8,000 per season. So remember, a season is just really the month of May. So that can be a lot, especially in Nepal. A lot of people regard it as like a golden ticket out of poverty. But on the other side, on the flippity flip of that coin, a Western guide makes about $50,000 a season.
Oh.
Which is kind of... They're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
They're guiding people up Everest. I would assume that the Sherpa
They should make
is probably better at doing it than the Western guide. Like, he's,
Yeah.
you know, lived his life in these mountains. I would probably trust the Sherpa more. But the Sherpa only makes $8K, and the Western guide makes about $50K. The most
really
successful Sherpa, his name is Sherpa Cami Wright. He has summited Mount Everest 25 times.
Oh,
And
wow.
he holds the record right now for like the most summits of Everest. He's done it pretty much every single year for like 25 years. Whoops. And it's also the Sherpas who climbed up the mountain, installed all of the rope systems that keeps everyone safe. Like, you're walking up there. People have been up there like freaking hammering things into ice, like paving the way for your success. So I feel weird about Sherpa culture. I feel weird about the fact that we don't recognize them enough. The fact that I've never climbed Mount Everest, that people brag about their accomplishment
Right.
doing Mount Everest when like people are risking their lives to get you there, not being paid enough to risk your lives to get you there, do it all the time and like aren't recognized for their accomplishments. And so
even the first people who climbed Everest, you know, I don't think that they were Sherpas, but I don't really hear about the Sherpa guide who helped them, you know.
So
there was?
That was the it was Edmund Hillary, and his Sherpa was Tezing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was a guy and a Sherpa
Okay.
that climbed it. So yeah, like his Sherpa was with him, but
Yeah, I definitely don't think we hear enough about Sherpas. I've never heard of Sherpas before I actually started like paying attention to what was going on Everest and like how people were climbing it and stuff like that. And then that was the first time I ever heard the word Sherpa, not from people's Instagram stories.
Yeah, and even like outside of specifically like Everest culture, I remember, so my mom like did some trekking in Nepal when she was young and whatever, and she would tell me that the Sherpas, so everyone would get up in the morning, they'd eat their breakfast, which was like cooked for them basically, and then they would start walking. The Sherpas would take down everyone's tents, pack them up, carry them, run past everyone on their hike, set up camp, and have dinner ready for all of the hikers when they got there. And I just found that crazy. I was like, what? Those people are doing such cool things, and nobody talks about how cool they are and like how amazing they are and how like physically fit they are.
Yeah.
Like all of these people are struggling through their hike, like taking
And the Sherpa's just running
Sherpa's
by,
just
like,
fucking, run by them. Like, all right, see you guys there. And like they have camp set up. They're
What do you
eating
want for
dinner.
dinner?
They're kicking back, like crazy shit. So I think we
That's
just
so
all need
cool.
to recognize Sherpas more for A, the risk that they put themselves in for other people, and just for like how cool they are and how physically capable they are. It's really
Holy
cool.
shit, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should also just leave the climbing to the Sherpas.
Yeah. Actually, there was like this I forget what year it was. I think it was 2013. There was an avalanche that happened at one of the camps, and 16 Sherpas were killed in the avalanche.
Oh.
And then they all like basically went on strike and refused to go up there because they were like, the government is making this too dangerous for us. Like, there's too many people there. There's not enough risk assessment. Like, we're putting our lives in risk to wait in these lines to watch people die, to be expected to carry dead bodies down when people do die. Like, it's just,
Yeah, it changed the system from a different side. Yeah, me too.
I agree.
I'm on strike with the Sherpas.
Same.
People need to stop climbing treacherous mountains.
Just stop.
They should close it. They should close it to tourists.
Yeah. I think people would still try to do it.
Probably, yeah. And then it would be even more expensive.
Crazy. And that like really successful Sherpa, Cami Wright, he has this like really cute little, not cute, but fun little saying when he sees anyone even like start to show signs of a slight struggle. He's like, you're going down. We're turning around. We're going down. Whole group is going down. This is not happening. And people are always like, no, I have to. I paid money to be here. Like all of that stuff. And he's always like, you know what? Mount Everest is going to be there tomorrow. You will not. And then he takes them down. And that's I was like,
wow,
that's
such a good way of putting
Mount Everest is always going to be there, my dudes.
Yeah, it's probably going to outlive us all.
It will outlive us all. 100% outlive us all. But like, if you don't head down, you don't get to see it tomorrow.
Damn, I love that.
Same.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kim.
I like that. He's not really letting anyone risk their lives for this. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. We like him.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, all in all, Mount Everest. I think we can stop. We can stop doing Mount Everest.
It's not cool anymore.
I think that a lot of people think about summiting Mount Everest as one of like the greatest feats of humanity, but I think that maybe it's bringing out the worst in humanity. Maybe it's not a great feat. It basically like strips people of empathy, dignity, and like consideration of others. They're just like, oh, I paid $100,000 to be here. I'm not going to help the person that's dying on the side of the trail. I'm going to climb over this dead body because, you know, I don't want to be out $100K for nothing. Yeah. And that's fucked up. That's mad fucked up. So
it just shows like what we'll do with money and like how much power it has over our lives and how you're right. It turns you into a really selfish person.
A monster.
So, money changes people.
That's my little talk about
money changed Everest.
And I also recommend the movie to everyone. Everest. I watched it this week after doing my little opinion on it. And it's very good. It's very good.
I'm down. I'll watch it.
It's a little scary, a little sad. But it's good, and it's a true story. And Keira Knightley's in it. I didn't expect that.
Oh!
But who's that Taylor Swift's controversial All Too Well boy?
I don't know. Joe Jonas?
Jake Gyllenhaal. Jake Gyllenhaal is also in it.
Yeah. Cool.
Just like very unexpected.
Did he climb Everest?
He's an actor.
Oh, it's a movie.
He plays. Yeah, Everest is a movie.
Oh, I thought it was a movie
about it's a movie about the 1996. It's like a Hollywood.
That's so cool.
Movie. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, I'm down. I'll watch it. Yeah, that sounds really good. Did you know that there's an Allegria movie? Like a Cirque du Soleil movie? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah. I know. The whole time that we were going up, we were like, Algeria, Allegria. It's Allegria.
Allegria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She started singing the song, and we were like,
oh.
That's how you say. Oh.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's my chat.
Fuck
y'all.
Everest. Another thing ruined by capitalism.
Yeah.
Yet another thing ruined by human
beings.
Another
thing. That's our podcast. Yeah. It's just a list of things that capitalism has ruined at this point.
Literally. It's really opened my eyes up to how like everything I do and how everything, it's just so deeply ingrained. And even when I don't think I'm doing things in like a capitalism kind of way, it's just, I still am. And it's just always in the background. And it's just always driving my life forwards, you know?
Presides over every single little aspect of our lives.
It's
Capitalism.
Insane. Capitalism. It's insane. I can't even imagine life without capitalism at this point too. Like, I've just accepted it, I think.
It'd be
which
so
maybe
nice,
isn't.
So great. Anyways.
Fuck. Anyways. Thank you so much. Yeah. For your little talk about Everest. That was interesting and very cool. I think we've all heard of Everest, and we all kind of, you know, see it as this unconquerable place, but now you know that it's not as cool as people make it out to be, and you're sacrificing a lot of morals and humanity just to climb to the top of a really high mountain. That's not amazing. And it's boring and cold.
Yeah, it's not even that fun, guys.
Yeah, what the fuck? Go to a music festival instead.
Literally. Buy a house, guys. You
Yeah,
have 100K, buy a house.
And if you want to hear more from us, you can find us on Instagram at very.unimportant.people. And on our Instagram, you can go to our bio and click on our link tree, and that's where our Patreon is. And you can pay for the Patreon, and it's just, it really helps support us, you know, and helps support our art and help create amazing new episodes for you guys every week for the past year and a half. You know, go support, go give us some love. And you can also find us on email, which is hatersclickhere@gmail.com. HATRS clickhere@gmail.com. And you can find us on Twitter at @theunimportantppl. And of course, you can find us on TikTok. Go check us out on TikTok. Leave us a comment. Let us know you're there from the podcast. We love to see it. And we will see you guys next week. Bye. Have a great.